Hello, my name is Billy Atkins, and I'm the Director of Campus Safety for St. Edward's University. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to view this brief presentation on personal preparedness, where we discuss how you can better prepare yourself and your family in the event of an emergency. Some of these scenarios may look very familiar, especially considering the severe winter weather and power outages that we experienced recently. These are just a few examples of reasons why it's important to be prepared for the unexpected.
All right, let me show you some of the features of the room. First, windows, conventional, open, closed, halfway open, or halfway closed, depending on your philosophical bent. Over here is my comic book collection. Feel free to browse. There's a box of disposable reading gloves on the nightstand.
Good to know.
In here, you'll find emergency provisions, an 8-day supply of food and water, a crossbow, season 2 of Star Trek, the original series, on a high-density flash drive.
What if there's a disaster that destroys all the USB ports?
Then there's really no reason to live, is there? Oh, let me just get one thing. It's my backup emergency supply kit. The living room escape route doesn't pass through here. Now, good night. And if there's an apocalypse, good luck.
So Sheldon may tend to take his preparedness efforts to an extreme, but apart from Sheldon's obsession, it's good for us to be prepared for a variety of emergencies. Because one, in a large scale or prolonged incident, emergency resources or services could be limited or even overwhelmed due to their response to the incident and not able to provide immediate assistance. Two, it not only helps you and your family, but also the broader community. If emergency responders are not having to help you following an incident, then they are available to concentrate on the incident or on assisting others. And three, it helps reduce our own fear and anxiety. For example, we experience distinct feelings based on our response to certain events. If something occurs that we're not expecting and not prepared for, we can feel confusion caused by the events going on around us. We can find the circumstances we're faced with difficult to accept, or we can even deny their severity. Panic is the sensation of fear and anxiety we feel when things seem to be out of our control. And finally, helplessness is that sense of dread that comes from feeling overwhelmed and unable to manage a situation. In contrast, our experience to the same incident, even if it's unexpected, can be very different if we've taken some time to prepare for it. Instead of confusion, if we've planned for an incident, we can respond to it in a more proactive manner. Likewise, if we've acknowledged and accepted that certain incidents may occur, we're able to respond more quickly. And this response will give us a sense of empowerment. Finally, the feeling of being able to address the situation in front of us makes us more committed to the idea of taking the action necessary to address and overcome the incident. There are 3 simple steps you can begin working on now to prepare you and your family for future events. So let's spend a few minutes talking about each step in a little more detail. Your first step is to know the risks that you and your family are subject to. An easy way to do that is to look up your community's hazard mitigation plan. Hazard mitigation plans are required for communities that desire to be eligible for certain FEMA grant programs. The hazards on this slide come from the City of Austin Hazard Mitigation Plan. These are the risks for our community as a whole. There are 3 main categories of hazards, which include atmospheric, hydrologic, and technological. Atmospheric hazards are events or incidents associated with weather. And as you can see, the entire left side of the slide is weather related. Weather is a very significant issue for our area. Hydrological hazards are events or incidents associated with water-related damage, such as floods, and account for over 75% of federal disaster declarations in the United States. Finally, technological hazards include incidents that can arise from human activities. Things like dam or pipeline failures, along with hazardous material releases, tend to result from human activities or actions. In addition to knowing the risks your community faces, it's also important to take into account your own household risk and vulnerabilities. These may include things like medical issues. Are you or someone in your household dependent on medications or medical equipment like oxygen? Is there anyone in your home who is medically fragile? Don't forget about conditions that seem relatively simple, like your vision. For me personally, I'm just about worthless without my glasses. Mobility issues. Does anyone in your home require a wheelchair, walker, or cane to get around? Mobility can also refer to access to reliable transportation for you and your family if you have to evacuate a location. Communication issues. Do you have strong, reliable cell service and/or internet service where you live? Economic issues. This includes things like access to adequate savings to cover unexpected or uninsured damage. Homeowners and renters insurance can be very important following a disaster. And domestic issues. What is your home life like? A single parent caring for several small children will face more issues than two parents who can share childcare responsibilities. Once you know your risks, you can start working on your plan. Plenty of formats are available, including one from the American Red Cross that we've made available to our community through a task on My Hilltop. We'll talk more about that a little later in the presentation. Much of your planning will be based on your specific situation. For example, evacuation planning is different for a single family home versus an apartment versus a high-rise building. Also, you should have designated locations for your family to meet at if they have to evacuate. Have designated people for your family to contact, including an out-of-state contact in the event of an emergency. Also, make sure you know who to contact at family members' workplaces, schools, daycares, etc. Make sure your children know who to contact if you're not available. And have contact information in multiple formats, not just on your phone. Know your children's school plan in an emergency as well as your spouse's. Following a disaster, having your financial information readily available will help you speed up your recovery and return to normal. You should review the Emergency Financial First Aid Toolkit, available in both English and Spanish, on My Hilltop under Preparedness Resources. Some areas for you to pay special attention to in your planning process include, if you have really small children, consider things like diapers and formula. Plan for the needs of any elderly members of your household. Medical needs could include your doctor's contact information, prescription or other medications that are needed, walkers, canes, or other medical devices. Make detailed plans for your pets, including food, water, ID tags, harnesses, a leash or a muzzle, a litter box, pet carrier, medical and vaccination records. It's a good idea to take a photo of you and your pet that clearly shows the both of you and keep it with your other important documents in the event you get separated from your pet. Now that you've made your plan, review it and practice it regularly with the members of your household. Now it's time to build your kit. And just like your family plan, your kit should be unique to you. Also, when building your kit, consider if you're planning on staying put or evacuating. This will help you determine what type of container to keep your kit in. This slide lists some of the most common items recommended for emergency supply kits by groups like FEMA and the American Red Cross, and it's not intended to be all-encompassing. Water is always important. We've had several situations in Austin where the city has been put under a boil water notice. The most common recommendation is to have 1 gallon of water per person per day for 3 days. Again, consider your home situation and know your needs. For example, pregnant women, the elderly, and the sick may require more water. When it comes to food, build a simple stockpile of shelf-stable food you know you will eat. You don't have to do this all at once. You can build your stockpile over several regular trips to the grocery store. For example, if your family typically goes through 1 jar of peanut butter a week, then the next time you go to the grocery store, buy 2 jars. You'll have the jar you're eating from during the week and your backup. Then the next time you go to the grocery store, you'll only need to buy the 1 replacement jar of peanut butter. Repeat this process slowly for things like tuna fish, canned chicken, canned soup, canned vegetables, etc. And when you have enough stockpiled, you can begin to rotate through it. If you have canned items, make sure you have a manual can opener. You may also want to consider a small camping stove in case you lose power or gas. It's important to have a first aid kit, but don't get anything you don't know how to use. At least be able to address minor cuts, scrapes, and burns. Consider more advanced first aid training or even a Stop the Bleed course. Flashlights, radios, batteries, and phone chargers are always beneficial if the electricity goes out. And as we've already discussed, be sure to take into considerations items you may need for your pets, your medications, or any medical equipment. If you plan on evacuating with your kit, you may want to pack a change of clothes and some hygiene items. Things like duct tape and trash bags have 101 uses and always come in handy in an emergency situation. A whistle can be useful if you're lost or trapped in a collapsed building. Finally, consider keeping some cash in small denominations in your kit in the event ATMs or credit card machines aren't working. Make sure you're able to receive emergency notifications and information from your work and other trusted media sources. WarnCentralTexas.org is the public portal for Central Texas residents to register your cell phone and receive important information in times of emergencies. NOAA weather radios are inexpensive and are a great way to receive timely and important weather-related information. Your cell phone, both iPhone and Android devices, have settings that will allow you to receive government-issued and other emergency alerts. Finally, this slide shows just a few apps available for your phone that will put important emergency information right at your fingertips. Here are a few links you can go to and learn additional information or get additional resources to help prepare you and your family for an emergency. You can also search preparedness resources on My Hilltop or a link to a folder with a wide variety of PDF documents to help you prepare your pets, information for individuals with disabilities, information on how to prepare your finances, and detailed information on building a supply kit, as well as a list of local resources. Thanks again for taking this training, and for preparing yourself and your family for the emergencies you may face. My contact information is on this slide, and I invite you to reach out if you have any questions or if you'd like to discuss any aspects of this presentation in further detail. Also, this training is available for groups on campus in a live, online, or in-person format. If you're interested in one of these sessions, just let me know.